What's going on, EDL? DZ, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
We are the breakfast crew today. Went and got a coffee before we started. Little sponsor is Swig's Coffee Bar. Um, a little earlier start. We got a lot. I know you got work soon, so that's why we started early.
Oh,
Lot of things that I want to go over. Kind of a weird week. I want to talk a bit about some trades, where we're at in the league. I definitely want to talk about the Hall of Fame. To be honest with you, that's where 90% of my research time went, so hopefully that's a good topic. I don't know how long it's going to take, but definitely going to get to talk to that. And then kind of a little bit of it's kind of a weird set of 2 weeks, something like I haven't felt before in the EDL, because it's like we have a back-to-back division matchups, which we've never seen before in week 4, week 5. Usually the doubleheader after week 3. You kind of see it's sped up record-wise, and then people kind of shift if they're going to be buyers, sellers, and we kind of get a feel of how the league is. But now after week 4 and week 5 against the same division opponent, I feel like it kind of gives a different feel to this year. So things I want to talk about, definitely going to cover the recaps and everything going last week. First, little note. Do all your confidence picks. Do all your survivors. I think there's only 3 survivors left already. Started with some confidence people. I've already bailed out. I forgot. Do those. One thing I wanted to know in confidence, because I feel like it comes up every year and I kind of forgot about it. If the site lets you do it, just pick whatever numbers is allowed so I don't have to go back and manage it later. If it lets you do it, go ahead and do it. Outside of like forgetting to pick the Thursday night game, and then if it lets you go pick the winner, obviously at 16 points. I don't believe it lets you do that. It's never let you have to do that, but that's about the only exception that you're not allowed to do. Do your confidence, do your survivors. Everything else seems to be going smooth. Blind bidding, everybody seems to be doing a good job. DZ, let me go on a little rant. I made a trade, buddy. I finally made a trade. It's something that I've been talking about, complaining about, bitching about.
collusion? You thought maybe?
Man, my emotional, mental state has been very confused and not good in these trades. And I didn't really come full circle because I knew what full circle was. But I just wanted to make a note that, like, when making trades, one of the frustration things to me was just the value and the value in this league of certain players and not certain players. And one thing that I think is just the longer and longer you're in dynasty leagues, the further and further it gets away from your base market, what you're going to go find on a calculator. And then it's going to be even more so, beauty is an eye of the beholder. And I think one thing that was hard for me to understand or to grasp is I'm seeing certain trades go through in different leagues that I'm like, okay, that's legit. I'm going to go do that in my league, and there's no interest. And I'm seeing other people make trades that I'd be willing to do in this league, and then I can't even get it done. But it's hard for me to understand that dynasty and trades, it's all about your team. It's all about your situation. What may be good in one league isn't good in another league. And I finally got a trade done, but I think that's just the beauty of it. And I hated it, bro. It was killing me inside. Because I was stuck. I was like, my team, like, do I compete? Do I sell? I see people selling. I want to be in on the sell. I see people buying. I want to be on the buy, but I was stuck in the middle. I didn't know what to do. I feel like I definitely spent a pretty penny trying to get Cooper Cup, but man, dynasty and trades, it'll give you a mind fuck. But I just want to go a little rant. I'm finally happy I got a trade done, and it was a tough lesson to be a seller or a buyer and not really know what team you kind of have, what assets people want. But either way, I digress. What I've seen is it kind of feels like there's a little arms race going right now, DZ, right? In the league. We've seen Robbie kind of make some trades trying to get better last week. We saw Edwards making a few trades. I know there's been some whispers in the league of certain teams that are becoming sellers. And I think maybe we're becoming sellers quicker this year because of this head-to-head conference division matchups. But we're going to get onto that. We're going to get into that later with the recaps, with the previews, all of that kind of stuff. I do got some notes on the matchups and different things because we did have an exciting week last week. Lots of things, numbers, stats to talk about. I think we're going to get there. But first, I just want to go right into Hall of Fame. I don't know how long it's going to take, DZ.
Hey, whoa! I got to work at noon. Okay, I got to get out of here.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay?
That's why I wanted to start, get going. Little trade, get into the Hall of Fame, then we'll get into recaps and previews. So one thing we didn't really discuss was anything. One thing, it felt like the EDL chat, liked the idea that we were doing. We got I don't know if it even matters, but maybe a criteria, a little guideline. I don't know how many leagues you have to play in the league. Do you have to do this, or this to even be considered in the Hall of Fame nominations? Edwards put in the chat that it shouldn't be anybody that's still playing. And while I see the angle, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard not to contain players because there's been guys that have earned it, and we've only been in the league, I think it's 12 years. So there's going to...
I think I agree with Edwards, though. I mean, we could find, especially for the first class, you only got to put a select few in. And we can definitely, for the first class, find a select few that has impacted this league that is no longer in the NFL. And the ones that are in, they can wait. The ones that are playing right now can wait.
Okay, that's fine.
I think I like what Edwards is talking about here.
So then, like the voting, are we voting them in at the end, or should we get a league poll?
Okay, listen, you are putting in the manpower here, so I think whatever you want to do on this, but I do think we should get the league involved.
So I'd say
maybe the OGs should have a little bit bigger role than the ones that have just been in the league for X amount of years. Maybe the OGs deserve a little bit more weighted vote since they've been here from day one.
The only issue is, dude, the writers' bias. We see that in the writers. They come in there making some crazy ass votes sometimes for MVPs. I don't know. We might get that. So I do agree. I think it'd be fun to get everybody involved. And then we got to figure out how many guys do we put a starting role, like a quarterback or two running backs, 2 receivers, tight end. Those all get in. The first year of flex. Maybe we just go the 5 best guys, or maybe 3 and 3.
5 best. 5 best. Let's make it special.
Doesn't matter. I thought it'd be hard. I don't know. If we did quarterbacks, only 2 quarterbacks get in. It'd be the best quarterback of all time, and Tom Brady would probably get in. So.
Well, I actually think Peyton Manning.
That's what I was saying. So yeah. So I feel like some will be easy. So maybe best 5. So a little bit we'll figure it out kind of as we go, how we're voting them in, how we're not voting them in, blah, 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 blah.
And maybe people in the chat, if they want to see a guy considered, maybe they can throw him out there.
Yes, I like that too. If you think you have a nomination, go ahead and throw it out there. But without further ado, let's get into our head-to-head battles this week, and let's eliminate some fools. Let's a little refresher. Our 2 golden buzzers, as we will. You picked Adrian Peterson. I picked Julio Jones to make it to our final pool. The next person that did get in, and I'm going to do my best to kind of give a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and then we can fit the pools. However, our next person that got in was Stephon Diggs, who's been in the league, I think we said, I got the number somewhere, but I think we said 9 years. So 9 years in the league out of 12. That's pretty good, even though he's still active. But Stephon Diggs was in the pool. And so for today, we've missed a couple weeks. I wanted to get our pool a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to put one more wide receiver against another wide receiver to give us 3, Julio, Diggs, and a third. And then I have 3 running backs. So we're just going to eliminate 1. So 2 are going to get in, 1's going to go out. We have 3 running backs to join Adrian Peterson. All right. So we're going to start with the receivers. Man, I didn't even think of how I wanted to go about I'll just tell you. Head-to-head matchup, receivers. AJ Green. Very, very, very good pick. Versus Calvin Johnson. All right, let's get into it. Let me give you some numbers, some different things to think about, rattle off who these players were to the EDL. And then if we need to go back and kind of, if you want to hear some numbers again, we can do that. So AJ Green was in the league 10 years. Drafted to me, and as we remember, I traded him to Rupp after week 1 of year 2. Spent a long time with Rupp. Then he was traded to you, Dan, in 2019, and then he was traded to Casey in 2020. So spent the better part of his career on Rupp's team. He's a two-time. AJ Green was a two-time Super Bowl champ with Rupp in 2013 and 2015. Decent playoffs in those 2 Super Bowl runs. He had 4 playoff games, right? He averaged 16.8 fantasy points in those 4 games. So solid. You know what I mean? That comes out to 5.5 catches, 83 yards, and half a touchdown. Kind of roughly is what he averaged. In his Super Bowls, in the 2 Super Bowl games, he actually turned it up, and he was averaging 22 fantasy points. So a little bit better. Okay? So 10 years in the league. He was averaging 66 catches a year, 945 yards, and 6.3 touchdowns a season. Now, we have to remember with some of these guys like A.J. Green, and we got into this with Jordy Nelson, we catch a couple of their end years that's pretty shitty as far as, the statistical production. But A.J. Green, longevity-wise, right on par with Stephon Diggs. 2 Super Bowl rings, did very well. 10-year career in the EDL. Very good, Hall of Fame. Our next guy, Calvin Johnson, DZ. Now, this is going to put you some back and forth and blah, 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 because we have A.J. Green, who was 10 years in the league. Calvin Johnson was only in the league 4. 4 years in the EDL. That was it. So I don't even know if that's enough. To be considered in the Hall of Fame.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. So DZ in those 4 years, Calvin Johnson snatched 2 Super Bowls as well. In 2012 with you, and then in 2014 with Pete. And then he was traded again right out. So Pete only had him for 1 year. You had him for 2 years, traded him to Pete. He got a Super Bowl with Calvin. After that offseason, he traded him to Casey. He played 1 season with Casey and then abruptly retired. So only 4 years in the league, 2 with you, 1 with Pete, 1 with Casey. But in those 4 years, Calvin Johnson might have been the most dominant wide receiver we've ever seen. His yearly stat line, what he averaged in the league was 91 catches, 1,436 yards, and 8.5 touchdowns. That's insane. 1,400 yards, 90 catches, 8.5 touchdowns. Ballin'. On top of that, DZ, in his 4 playoff games he was averaging 21 fantasy points. And in the 2 Super Bowls, he was averaging 27.8. In the Super Bowls, he's averaging 8.5 catches and 164 yards. So absolutely going bonkers in the Super Bowls. In all the playoff games, did tremendous. Every week he was in the EDL. He was balling the whole freaking time. 2-time Super Bowl champ, but he only played 4 years. That's it. And then you have AJ Green, also two-time Super Bowl champ. Numbers more around Diggs, not the peak that Calvin Johnson put up, but the longevity of the career. DZ, you got to eliminate one.
Bro, you know where I'm going with this. This is easy, right? You know what I love for Calvin, bro. AJ's out of here. AJ's out of here, man.
Well,
say goodbye. Hey, try again next year, buddy. Try again next year.
I didn't know. Again, that's parameters. I didn't know. Is longevity a thing? And I don't. It matters. It doesn't matter. Whatever we pick. Calvin Johnson, definitely worthy. Congratulations to him. 2-time Super Bowl champ. Absolutely beast for that short time he was in the league. Calvin Johnson joining Julio Jones and Stephon Diggs in our Hall of Fame voting. Congratulations.
Hey, real quick, Nate, not to rain on this. I did have a friend tell me, I'm not going to expose them.
That's fine.
They asked me, is Puka Nacua making Calvin Johnson look overrated? So just kind of sit on that for a sec. basically saying Stafford just targets one dude only.
Dude, Puka has some pretty wild stats for his first 4 games of his
But I don't
career.
know how you pull that conclusion though. Like, oh, Calvin sucks now.
All right, and then we have our next. We're just gonna move right along. Our next 3 contenders. These are the running backs. Join in Adrian Peterson. I'm gonna give you all 3, and then we'll go through and take a look see at them. We have Le'Veon Bell, if you remember that name. Oh God, he's making you yawn. We got
Sorry.
LaShawn McCoy, if you remember that name. And we got Alvin Kamara, if you remember that name. Let's start with Le'Veon Bell. Okay? So Le'Veon Bell was once, it's only in the transaction history, but was once obtained via waivers in the offseason. It's hard for me to imagine he was ever dropped. So I'm assuming he was a RFA at one point in his career. One of the first times he was moved from his initial drafted team. Didn't really look, but he was traded 4 different times, Le'Veon Bell. In that little career, he had 1 Super Bowl in 2016. That was with Cam's team, back when Cam was in the league. In that 1 Super Bowl run, Le'Veon Bell went absolutely bonkers. In his first playoff game, I don't know if you remember 2016,
God, I do this now.
he dropped 59.4 points in week 1 of the playoffs and then that Super Bowl run. That's tied for the 6th highest score all time. Did it in the playoffs. That's fucking amazing. He followed that up by a 22-point week, 22.7, and then in the Super Bowl, he had 32.7. So Le'Veon Bell went, his 1 Super Bowl run, he went absolutely bonkers. Might as well just carried, dropping that 59. Did really well. His career, so he had 9 seasons in the league, but he got hurt 1 year, so he only played 8 years in the EDL. He had 9,843 yards from scrimmage, which is really good. 399 catches and 51 total touchdowns. So just on average, so from your running back, if you own Le'Veon Bell the whole time through, you were getting about 50 catches a year from him, 1,230 scrimmage yards, and 6.5 touchdowns per year. That's pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? Considering the up and the down. Like I mentioned, 59.4 is the 6th highest score all time. And he is one of 3 running backs in the whole EDL history to have multiple 50-point weeks. So only 3 running backs have done it, have more than one. The top guy's 3. Two guys have 2. Le'Veon Bell being 1. Pretty big peak. Pretty good peak for Le'Veon Bell once he was in the league, and then definitely has the longevity to go with it. Move on to our next guy. We got a little taste of Le'Veon Bell. We got LaShawn McCoy. Okay, McCoy was in the league 9 years, only 6 good ones. Two rings, one with Pete in 2014, one with that same 2016 Cam. He was on that team with Le'Veon Bell. I'll try to go a little quicker. So in the Super Bowl run with Pete, LaShawn McCoy was pretty quiet. He averaged 9 fantasy points each week in the playoffs. So 2 weeks in a row of just averaging really low. But his Super Bowl, he put up 25. So pretty quiet playoffs with Pete. With Cam, he went nuts. He averaged 30. He went 30, 30, 30 in the playoffs and Super Bowl. Longevity, he has the scrimmage yards is over 10,000. He's our only guy so far that hit over 10,000. 10,759. So he has the longevity. He has 2 Super Bowl rings. The most longevity of anybody in the league. But his high as a running back, his high points scored in any week in his whole career was only 37. So not the peak of Le'Veon Bell. But he has longevity a little bit better. 2 rings to Le'Veon Bell's 1. But pretty similar, McCoy and Bell. And then our last guy, Alvin Kamara. Dude, Alvin Kamara's been fucking bonkers. Only in the league 6 years, but he has a Super Bowl champ with Seward. In the Super Bowl of that in Seward's year, he dropped 60.6 fantasy points, which is the highest score of all time, and he did it in a Super Bowl. That's ridiculous. Um, he has 5 games of over 44 points, which is tied for first among all running backs all time. Um, per year he's been in the year 6 years. This is what you can count on from Alvin Kamara: 71 receptions, 1,481 scrimmage yards, and 11.8 TDs a year. He's averaging double-digit touchdowns. He's averaging over 70 catches and 1,400 yards from scrimmage. Alvin Kamara is probably the most dominant player of the three. He has the highest peak because he has the highest score in a Super Bowl, and then he has the most, tied with one other player for basically the top of the high scores. But he's only been in the league 6 years, and he is still active, DZ. You have 3 players: Le'Veon Bell, LaShawn McCoy, and Alvin Kamara. All very worthy, but we have to eliminate one. All have Super Bowl rings. How are we feeling?
Well, I mean, I'm going back to what Edwards says. No active players, so this is an easy one right here.
I'm just letting you know we that's fine because we do the pool's going to get big, but we're going to run out of players that are worthy. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll do my best. I'll do my best to keep it off. So Kamara, see you later. AJ Green, see you later. We put Calvin Johnson in with Stephon Diggs, very worthy, and then we have Le'Veon Bell and LaShawn McCoy joining Adrian Peterson for the best of our last 12 years. It's freaking good choices. And I think I got a couple when we do the final pull and pull them all together, I kind of have a couple other stats that I'm going to add to the wrinkled.
Just real quick, I think that we should get this narrowed down. This is a great idea, but we should get this narrowed down if we don't want to add active players, because then
I've already took a peek. That's what I'm telling you. It's going to be hard.
Okay.
We're already pretty much, we have 2 more shows of this and then we'd be done. Right, and before
so
we get to
about, so what are we thinking, 20 people to pick from?
That seems fine. 20 people. Maybe even less. 16.
I'm talking about a bit non-active players. Would it be a pool of 20 or?
Here we go.
Because there's a guy that's coming off the top of my head right now that we probably wouldn't even think about, but should be considered, like a J.J. Watt, someone like that.
Oh, yeah, I guess if we're going defense and different things like that, which we can have a defensive week, which J.J. Watt's going to be
a shoe-in. He'd be a shoe-in, I feel like, for anything. If you only had one defensive player against all the offensive players, J.J. Watt would probably be in. But I'm just saying, I'm wondering how big the pool is, for year one if we didn't include active. We're going to do active, that's fine. But I want to just get this. It's your baby, so.
I've already looked, and in, it's going to.
What's the pool?
Here, I'll go. I'm gonna give it away. I was gonna get on Google search just to show you, but it's gonna give it away. It's gonna give it away.
Let's just talk. Let's talk about it off camera, and we'll figure it out. Okay?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I think the pool. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll talk about the pool and who maybe is potentially to come.
If anybody wants to throw a suggestion or something in the chat, but I really like what we're doing here. This is fun. Let's just get it official, the parameters, so we can really just dive into this and get it going.
Sounds legit. I like it though. The Hall of Fame class is starting to shape out.
Yes, sir.
It's pretty dope. Thanks for getting the pulls. Let's move on. Let's just move on to our matchups, DZ, and talk about last week.
Let's get it. I'm ready.
Weekly results. We are going to start with Seward, the Plainview Crushers versus Seward. Little notes before we start into it. This is Edwards' first time beating Seward since 2019. Also, a side note on Edwards' team. Edwards' team, this is with 245.7 is the winning score, is his 4th week in a row dropping plus 240. Edwards only dropped 240 once last year, and the year prior to that, he only did it once. So Edwards is into different waters. He's beating teams he hasn't beaten in a long time. He's scoring points. He's getting a dub. What was his pay dirt? DZ.
You were talking about Edwards. Edwards. Just one small note is I think Edwards' team is Seward's team now, or Seward's team is Edwards' team. Maybe we can talk about that in a sec. But anyways, I got AJ Brown for Edwards, 38.5 in this one, Nate. 9 catches, 175. He went from wide receiver 22 all the way up to wide receiver number 8 after this performance.
Big time day and his pay dirt.
I went with Debo. This was pretty easy here. 87% of the snaps, no targets, Nate. 1.2, he got a couple rushes. Everything going to your guy.
The real wide Edwards knows. He's a fan. He knows how good Ayuk is. Let's look at Seward's team. Who is his pay dirt?
We just talked about him, Alvin Kamara. Nate Dogg, 13 catches in this one. He's now tied for 8th among running backs with catches after one game this year.
Do a little side note with Kamara, dude. Drafted by Seward, been the whole year on the whole fucking career on Seward's team. Finally gets traded, and where does he go? Into the visitors freaking locker room the same
a lot
week.
Of those players did. A lot of those players went
the
over
same week. Kamara already has a coming home. Freaking whatever. And then his pay dirt.
I went with Aaron Jones. Kind of disappointing, Nate Dogg, coming back from injury. Great week 1. Been injured the last 2 games before this one. Only 3.4. Only 20 snaps. You hate to see it after a really good performance in week 1 for Aaron Jones.
Yep, coming back from a little hammy. And yes, and we mentioned Seward looks like he's selling. There's been some rumors. So go give all your first to Seward. I don't even care. If you got first, give them all up.
I don't want to be the only one with first, you know.
Yeah.
So fun.
Kenny Pickett, 5 first rounds. Send it over. But good win for Edwards, getting the first win over Seward since 2019. Moving on to our next victory. And goddamn, Matt. Big Doggy Matt. Also 2019 actually pops up 3 times. This is the second time. But this is Matt's first time beating Rupp as well since 2019. And did he do it in a big way, D's? 325.3. I believe this is, unless I just didn't see it, this is Matt's first time getting in the 300 club. So congratulations. Good job. 10 minutes, DZ? Oh, God, I took way too much. We got to go fast.
I'll be as fast as possible.
All right. 325, 11th all time. Go ahead. Pay dirt.
Yeah, I went with Khalil Mack here, obviously. 55.6, Nate. Since week 10 of last season, that's 11 games. Khalil Mack has had a total of 52.4. I don't even know why he's in the starting lineup. Matt decided to start him. Good thing he did. 55.6 is a lot of points from a DN.
55.6 is also the highest score ever by a defensive player in the EDL. Crazy. Give me his Joe Dirt.
I went with Jared Goff here. 13.4, Nate Dogg, 210 yards, 1 touchdown. Second game, sub-20 game for Goff. A lot of people thought he was coming in to have a good season this year. I think he's got to be more consistent. You can't have half your games under 20 if you want to be considered that top elite, quarterback 1 type of situation.
And then Rupp, give me his pay dirt.
We were Josh Jacobs. Finally a breakout game for him. 31.3 in this one. Came into the game averaging 13 a game. After this one, 17.5. More like the Josh Jacobs we saw last year. 8 catches in this one, Nate Dogg.
Do a little shout out to Diggsy after the Hall of Fame nomination, just coming in with 3 tutties. Give me his Joe Dirt.
Kind of a nightmare for Rupp in this one. Watson went down. Got hurt getting a massage this week. He had to call up DCR as backup. Only 1.2. Not a very good first start in the NFL. 121 yards, Nate Dogg, 3 picks.
Good win, 300 Club Matt. Congratulations. Nice job getting it done against Rupp. Moving on to our next matchup. Pete getting the win, becoming 20. I know it's only been 3 years. This is year number 3 for Zoe, but becoming 21-4 lifetime against that franchise, which is the single best division rivalry matchup winning percentage of anybody in the league. We'll see if Zoe can't get it turned around in the next couple years. But Pete, 294.4, maybe a different Pete from the first couple weeks. Give me his pay dirt.
Yeah, we was probably going to be his pay dirt next week, too. Justin Fields, I went 36.2. Nate Dogg, first 300-yard passing game forever for Justin Fields, 4 touchdowns. Finally something through the air with Justin Fields in this one.
And give me his Joe Dirt.
I went with Patrick Mahomes. 16.5. You expect so much more from this guy. His season low last year, Nate, was 19.4. So 16.5 is very bad for Patty.
And then let's bump over to Zoe's team. Give me his pay dirt.
My guy, A-Rich, 35.6, Nate Dogg, 200 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 56 yards on the ground. Nate, 3 games, he's averaging 26 points per game. That is elite. That is chef kiss right there.
You definitely love Day Rich. I've been trying to sell me on it the whole time. I've been heard, but fantasy wise, he might be him. He really might be. So that's a good guy for Zoe to hold on to. Moving on to our next game, myself, DZ, 220 getting a win over you, 180. And you know what's fun about this matchup, D's? This brings our career lifetime matchup head-to-head to 500, baby. I got it back after you just dominating me the first half of our career. We're 500 against each other.
What's the ring total between us? The count.
I can't. Everything before 10 years ago doesn't count. All right. Give me my pay dirt.
I went with Derrick Henry, Nate Dogg, 30.7. The old guy getting it done. 122 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown, and a passing touchdown, Nate. Hey, if you take out his 4.2 dud from week 3, the guy's averaging 23.7. That is elite in the EDL as a running back.
And 4 point, dude, the Browns got a good defense. But yes, Derrick Henry getting it done. And then give me my Joe Dirt.
Man, Tyreek, man, kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde or whatever it is. Only 10.4 in this one. Only 5 targets. He's averaging 12 targets coming into this one. Ugly game all around for the Dolphins going against the Bills.
And then let's go to your team. Did you just trade away your pay dirt?
Yes. Yep, former Snake. The only good player on my fucking team is gone. Nico Collins, Nate Dogg, 35.8, 7 catches, 168, 2 touchdowns. Leads the NFL with 196 yak, getting it done with the ball in his hand.
I really like Nico Collins. Give me his Joe Dirt. Or
my
your Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt?
Yeah, I already had him gone.
I pick myself because there's really no expectations for this group of fucking flunkies to do anything. But I'm over here, Nate, what's my job? I'm rebuilding. What am I doing picking up Craig Reynolds? What am I doing picking up River Craycraft? Why am I picking up Nelson Aguilar? Why? Melvin Gordon. Why is he on my team? For what? I'm failing myself as a rebuilding owner right now.
But you're still competing, and that's the rules. So keep competing. Keep trying.
True.
Let's move on to our next matchup. Robbie getting a win over Jerome, 269 to 197.4. Now, this division matchup has been pretty back and forth. 2 years ago, Robbie swept Jerome. Last year, Jerome swept Robbie. And now Robbie's getting the first win against Jerome this year. So pretty back and forth between these two franchises. But 269 to 197, that's a pretty convincing win. Let's get Robbie's pay dirt.
Yeah, okay. I'm using Robbie's pay dirt this week to make a point, to make a political stance here on kickers. Fuck kickers. Jake Elliott got 18 points for Robbie. What did Robbie do to deserve this 18 points? What kind of research did Robbie do to fucking get Jake? Did he look at his combine? Is there some metric out there to tell you, hey, this is the kicker to own? Fuck kickers, man. It's straight RNG, man.
His Joe Dirt.
Hey, he traded this guy too, JSN, over on my squad now. 3.5 names, pretty depressing. 59. His snap count was only at 53. It's been in the mid-50s all season. Not good so far.
His pay dirt. All right, let's jump over to Jerome's team and look at his pay dirt.
Russell Wilson getting it done. 28.1 in this one. A little bit of garbage time. 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. Number 9 quarterback, Nate Dogg, 24 points per game, and there's a teardrop right after that. So good job by Russell.
Dude, this is like a speed run. I like it. Give me his Joe Dirt.
Yeah, I went with Chris Olave, Nate. 1.4 in this one, 6 targets, 1 catch. With Kamara in the lineup, he had a 16% target share. His previous season low has been 31% target share.
Good win for Robbie. And then Bird, our last matchup, getting his first win. Also to our last 2019, first win against Casey since 2019. brings that all-time franchise matchup record of 500. I know Bird's only been around for 5 years, but it's an even matchup between the two. Bird 243.9. Give me his pay dirt.
I went with Isaiah Pacheco, 28.8 in this one. Nate Dogg, 20 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He's after a slow start. Pacheco's starting to come around as a nice little RB2.
And what's his Joe dirt?
Jordan Addison, bro, 0 points in this one. Promising rookie, only got one target. Last week he had 58 snaps, Nate, all the way down to 28 this week.
And then let's bump over to Casey's team and talk about his pay dirt.
Not a lot going on here. Very poor week. I did beat this guy. Got me a all-play win. Thank you, Casey. And by the way, if you're live, Casey, can you put something in the chat? Anyway, CJ Mosley. I went with CJ Mosley here, 15.4. Main reason is he dropped an interception from Mahomes and then got redemption on like the very next drive.
And what's his Joe dirt?
It's getting ugly. Joe Burrow. It's getting very ugly. 4.7 points this week, Nate. Very, very bad. 18.7 is his high this year. Other 3 games under single digits. Something's wrong with that fucking cap, bro. They need to rest him.
All right, DZ, we just got to pick him and go. But you did good. Next week I won't do so many, whatever you want to call it. That way we have more time to talk. All right, let's look going forward. We just got to pick and go. Same matchups, Casey versus Bird. I'm going to go 2-0 Bird. Bird's getting them both.
Bird.
Moving on, we got Matt versus Rupp. I think Rupp splits with him.
Yeah, Rupp's getting it back. He's getting his win back.
Zoe versus Pete.
Pete.
Myself versus you. Say it.
Move it along.
And then we got Robbie versus Jerome. I think Jerome with the upset. I'm going to go with the split. I don't want to split here.
Yeah, Jerome got to get it done, man.
Jerome's got to get one. Oh, we got one more. And then we got Seward versus Edwards. I'm picking Seward just because it'd be funny.
For the laughs?
For the laughs. All right, EDL. Good shit. Good video, DZ. That was all right. I kind of liked it. EDL, realist, ever. Have a good day at work, buddy.
Thank you.